We've already taken a look at Lisp in another episode, but we do need to go over some of the different architectural components, so let's go ahead and get started right here on IT Pro TV.
You're watching IT Pro TV.
That's right, we are jumping into Lisp architectural components, and we actually have Anthony Sequeira here to help to remind us about Lisp, as well as a lot of these different moving pieces. So Anthony, as we get started here, we did go over Lisp, we did talk about its basic nature, but we also have a lot of terminology that we need to understand. So where are we going to begin?
We really do. I mean, we need to, I would recommend that our students create flashcards. That is a great idea. I'm creating some for you up at the cram.com site, as I shared with many of you on our YouTube channel, or I think it was my personal YouTube channel, whatever. This is an area where flashcards are really going to help you. There is a lot of architectural components when you break it down. But I got great news, Ronnie. There's not as many as you think.
Right.
Let me start walking you through them, everybody, and you'll see that it's really not that bad. First of all, some review. We have our endpoint identifiers with Lisp, or EIDs. These are, surprise, surprise, IPv4 or IPv6 addresses, really. That's the endpoint identifier that we are interested in with our client devices in the SD-Access environment. We have Lisp sites, which are collections of our Lisp routers and our endpoint identifiers. If we're in a small enterprise, it might be one Lisp site we're dealing with, but there certainly could be many Lisp sites in a larger enterprise. Now, when Lisp endpoints go to communicate from site to site, there needs to be an encapsulation that takes place of that information to move it through the Lisp environment properly. And that's where we have ITRs, Ronnie. We did not talk about these when we initially presented the Lisp material. The ingress tunnel router is where you have the encapsulation of the packet as it is going from one site to another Lisp site. Now notice the key here, Ronnie. It's Lisp site to Lisp site.
Right.
The egress tunnel router, or ETR, is going to de-encapsulate packets before they go into the Lisp site. So you just imagine this. You have the ingress doing the encapsulation, and then you have the egress doing the de-encapsulation, and that makes perfect sense as you're moving from site to site.
Now, if I try and bring this back maybe to analogy, and tell me if I'm wrong here on this one, it sounds like VLANs, right?
It's a lot like that.
Yeah. So I know it's not exactly, but it's the idea of encapsulation, and then on the other side, it reads it and decapsulates and puts it where it needs to go.
Ronnie, it's like a trunk link almost. Yes, I love it. And another analogy I wanted to point out, or maybe not an analogy, but another commonality that you see a lot of times, Ronnie, is that there's edge devices, right, that are doing all the work. You know, it reminds me of MPLS.
Right.
You've got your edge devices in MPLS that are doing all the work, and the lucky devices in the middle, they're just like, do-do-do-do-do-do. That's the first time I've ever done that dance in the studio.
Hopefully it's the last.
Yes, that was like Cotton Eye Joe, I think, and I just hurt my knee doing that. It really stinks to be 50. All right, so I love it, Ronnie. Yeah, this isn't that hard, okay? The first time you look at it, the first time I looked at it, I was like, what? Now watch this. It gets even easier because remember last time we discussed Lisp, we mentioned the lowercase x and then the capital TR, and we said that was a tunnel router? That's an umbrella term for all of your ITR and ETRs. So see, that's like not a new concept you got to learn. That's a way to describe all of those ingress and egress tunnel routers. It's like a catch-all. And we looked at that term last time. Now, these are two new terms, and I want you to pay attention to these. Hint, hint. So we've got the proxy ingress tunnel router, and we've got the proxy egress tunnel router. This is easy. Anytime you see the word proxy, it means like working on behalf of something else. The something else here is non-Lisp sites. So when we have to interact with sites that don't understand Lisp, we have a proxy ingress That's for dealing with traffic that's coming into this environment from a non-Lisp site that wants to get to one of our EIDs. And then a proxy egress router that is coming from our happy Lisp land going to non-Lisp sites. And guess what? We have an umbrella term to gather those all up together. You can say the PXTR, which is just a proxy tunnel router, and it could be the ingress variety or the egress variety. You could say Lisp router, and it's referring to any of these roles. You see how easy this is? There's only a few select really unique roles that you got to learn. Then there's an umbrella terms or umbrella terms that gather them all together. We mentioned last time the routing locator, the RLOC. This is the v4 or v6 address of the edge egress tunnel router that is internet or network core facing. And then we mentioned last time that there's a mapping server and a mapping resolver. Another hint for those of you interested in certification, pay attention to the subtle difference there. One has the EID to RLOC database that we spoke of last time with Lisp. The other one is responsible for resolving the queries. Remember, this whole thing works a lot like DNS, which is just mind-blowing compared to how different that is from traditional routing. Remember, those are two distinct roles technically, but they're often the same device. They're often the same router, and you'll see oftentimes that's MS-MR. And that's just to say, duh, it's both a mapping server and a mapping resolver. Woo! So it looks like a lot of stuff, but don't be intimidated by that list of architectural components. As we said, many of them are so easy. They're just an umbrella term to refer to all of them.
All right, Anthony. Well, thank you for helping us to understand more about the different components that are actually out there. Do pay attention because the idea of vocabulary and terminology is going to be very important, especially when they use those terms egress and ingress. Make sure you can differentiate those as you also get prepared for the exam. Well, there are plenty of more shows in Encore to go, but we're going to sign off for this one. So signing off for IT Pro TV, I'm your host, Ronnie Wong.
And I'm Anthony Sequeira.
Stay tuned right here for more on your CCNP Encore show.
Thank you for watching IT Pro TV.